Hello and welcome to this edition of the Time with Heim podcast. I'm your host, Lynn Cordes, joined by Superintendent Heim. Welcome back from fall break.
Oh, I hope everybody had a great fall break. We talk about it, but everybody loves us having the week for fall break.
It's nice. It's
and
nice.
We did have good weather.
Yeah.
The thing about spring break is it always rains. Fall break, the weather is usually pretty nice. So
that nice little transition.
The hard on our football teams, although we had a good week in football.
And all the other sports are done.
Yes,
too,
pretty much all done. And we had great years. So it's kind of transition into the winter sports now. The basketball practice will be beginning soon, and wrestling and some of the other sports we have going on. So we're really excited about that. But football teams are all three in a good position to make the playoffs. So we could have all three teams in the playoffs this year, and that's always awesome and exciting for our district. And so make sure you follow your local team. And a big shout out, because I enjoy when I'm gone. I still use OSN, and those guys do a really good job, and we're going to continue to work with them and hopefully get some student involvement with that to get our kids some more internship that want to be video people or work at that level.
That's right. So if you have any kiddos out there that are interested, give me a shout. We'll get them taken care of and connected.
Can you believe it's October 21st?
I know. Halloween's right around the corner.
Halloween's here. Time change. November 3rd, I believe.
It's happening.
And we fall back, so we get an extra hour of sleep that day.
With the daylight, that's nice.
Yeah, then it'll start being dark in the night. Then it gets dark in the afternoon.
That's it.
I know. I like daylight savings myself, but you do have to understand that this time of the year it's really dark in the mornings, and our kids coming to school in the dark is a little nerve-wracking. So picking up kids on the bus.
That's right.
Now, it's one of the reasons why people always ask, why does high school go early and elementary late? Well, we don't want elementary kids at bus stops at 6:45 in the morning where it's pitch dark. High school kids and middle school kids in the dark, we want to be safe for them too. It's not like it's just they're a little older and hopefully have the experience and the discipline to stay out of danger.
Yes, absolutely. Now we have a few things that are coming up this week that we want to mention, and then some events for next week. So let's talk about our special guests that are going to be joining us. From the Mr. Dorman.
Joe Dorman, yes. And the Oklahoma
Child Advocacy
Institute is coming to town. They're going to be in town Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I know they're going to visit Lawton Public Schools a lot on Thursday. I know they're going to be at Fort Sill and visit Freedom, and then they wanted to visit a couple sites here on and just talk about their child advocates, and they work on how do we keep kids in school and see some of the things we're doing here at Lawton Public Schools. And it's always great that our teachers are doing things that people want to come see. And so that's that's exciting for us because it's easy for us to say they don't want to come to Shoemaker and see what we're doing.
That's right.
They want to get in our buildings and see what our teachers are doing. And so big shout out to the teachers at Lawton Public Schools that those people want to come to this community and spend a few days and see what you're doing as a teacher. So thank you again for all your hard work for our students.
Yes, and then next week, for the first time, we have transitioned from Vex Robotics to Lego First.
Yes, and that's going to be exciting. I guess a week from Tuesday, we're going to have our first Lego competition.
Correct.
And that's going to be cool, and it's going to be in the
gym at the LRC.
And what do the Tomlinson STEM Arena.
Correct.
Yes, so that's the Tomlinson STEM Arena. It'll be in there, and we're excited about that. And those are awesome when we have those. And a big shout out to that team for the STEM and the things they do. This is going to be big and get a lot of notoriety and so forth. And as you know, after Christmas, we always have our boat races.
Yes, the boat races.
Everybody loves
fun.
The boat races.
And thanks to Fort Sill because that's a huge partnership with them.
And I think this robotics is going to be just as big. And so we're excited about that.
And so we will stream that on our LPS TV channel. Our LRC students, the media classes will be there. So be sure to check out our social media.
Yes.
We'll have that on there. What else do we have going on, Mr. Heim? Lots of good things.
Well, what else? I'm trying to think. As we turn the table, our finalists for Teacher of the Year are going to be announced. That's so exciting. As we know, we'll do that the last day before Christmas break with all of our staff announce it.
We have our first class Teachers of the Year as well.
Support person.
And that's fun. We've changed that from Champions for Children
to a Support Person of the Year. That's really exciting that we pick one person in the district as a Support Person of the Year. So that's an honor for our teachers. What else we got? We got the time change. We got football about to get into the playoffs.
And November is going to be right around the corner.
Isn't it?
It's happening,
It is.
soon in a couple weeks. But
don't forget in November we have a virtual day on the 10th and then we're out of school on the 11th. Is that correct?
Well, it's a Friday and then Veterans Day, so that same weekend as Veterans Day.
Okay.
So I believe it's the 8th.
Okay, the 8th.
8th
Okay.
and the 10th.
There you go. But
Check
look at
our
your
calendar.
calendars. Yes. Look at your calendars. And then Thanksgiving is later this year, so it's at the
is.
end of the month. So when we get there, you're gonna think school's out, because you're gonna go Thanksgiving, boom, boom, school, and then we're to Christmas break. It just all goes so fast this time of the year.
And speaking of fast, we mentioned this right before we got on the podcast, but report cards are not given at the 9 weeks like they traditionally.
Yeah,
have
but there's
been
progress.
on.
You can log on. That's what
Yes.
technology does. Make sure you log on and check your students' grades, because if they're not where you want them to be and meeting your expectations, this is it's kind of we're a halfway point. So we've got to make a change now. A lot of our schools have tutoring. If they don't have tutoring and you need help, we'll work with our buildings to get them tutoring. But there's a lot of opportunities out there to get our students help and get them going. And especially secondary students who are now getting credits. This is a big deal for freshmen. This is their first year where credits really count. And so really make sure you're logging on and checking your child's grade. If you can't get on and see them, make sure you get with your school. Contact your building or your today and make sure you get that log on and that username and password so you can get on and see your child's grades and make sure they're meeting your expectations, because sometimes, especially freshmen and even sophomores and younger kids, it's 1 or 2 papers they just forgot. They think they turned it in, but they didn't. Or, even once in a blue moon, they did turn it on and sometimes how it stuck to somebody. But make sure you're checking those grades and seeing and looking at your grade book to see that if you have zeros or if you haven't done work, that you're getting that done.
There is one thing that I do want to bring up, and I want you to clarify for our families that are watching, because there were a few social media posts out there, and it's confused some of our concurrent families.
Okay.
And that is the additional fee. We are not. Can you explain
Okay.
what that means? Because it's not.
Okay.
the way it's put out.
Here's how this works. We have a deal with Cameron that they charge LPS the fees. Now, the tuition is paid, the majority of the tuition is paid by the Regents and Cameron. So Cameron takes care of that. We buy the books at LPS. The fees, Cameron charges us at LPS, I think it's $13 a credit hour for fees if they take here at the Life Ready Center or take the class at LPS. If they take it at Cameron, everyone has to pay the same at Cameron, so it costs $55 or $60. So this child has to pay the difference between the $13 and the $60 or whatever Cameron charges, unless it's a class that they couldn't take here. So the point being is, if it's going to cost the district an extra $150 for your child to take a class at Cameron that we're offering at the same time at the LRC, then they're going to have to pay the extra $150. Because we can't, that's not fair to our other students that we're just letting them choose. So that does create a little bit of confusion. Same way if you want to take a class from another university. Well, we don't have a deal with another university for free tuition. So if you take a class from TCU or University of Texas online, then we can't pay for that. Now, again, we do approach those case by case. If it's an OU class or an OSU class or a class but from another Oklahoma university, we may work with them and get a deal where the tuition is not as much. And it may be a class we can't get you through Cameron. I mean, we make exceptions if it's a class you can't take any other way. We still buy the books, but there does get to be some fees with tuition and fees that aren't covered in the arrangement we have. When we say we offer free tuition, to make that understanding, our tuition fees and books and things that we purchased for our students last year is getting close to $1 million a year. Well, we can't add to that by letting kids, the negotiations we have with Cameron, and a big shout out to Cameron for working with us, make that possible.
So the point is, if you're not sure, ask your counselor, because there are case-by-case situations, and it's not a blanket, people are now having to pay fees.
No, yeah,
for
our hope
concurrent.
is that nobody has to pay fees.
Right.
And our hope there is if we have enough students wanting a class, we'll get Cameron to move it here. Because they've been really good about that. I mean, the number of classes they offer here at the LRC has grown since we've been here and since we started this. But again, if there's a class, if the only time Comp 1 is offered is at 8 o'clock here, but you can take it at 10 o'clock at Cameron and you're in band, then we'll work with you on that.
Correct.
Because we want you in band. Or if it's at the end of the day and you're in basketball, we want you in basketball, so we'll work with you if you have to take that class at a different time. And the only other time it's offered is at Cameron. We'll work with Cameron and work with you to make that happen.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, it does
that.
get a
That
little
was big
confusion,
deal.
but it does get, and the other part of that is because we pay for it, we have too many W's. And those of you who went to college, most of you have one of those, most of us, like I don't have, got a W.
I had a W.
W somewhere on your transcript. The problem with W's is you have to still pay the class. You have to still, that's part of the deal. What Cameron doesn't like, because it still costs them money, we don't like that we bought the books and paid our share of the fees and kids get W's. Those things can happen, but they're happening too widespread. So that's a deal we're going to try to really work hard with our parents and our students to have a better understanding of, hey, you enroll in that class. It's no different. If you're in high school English 1 or English 2 or English 3, you can't just come up 6 weeks into the deal and say, I want out. You got to finish the class. That's just part of, you're enrolled in that class. So you can't take Comp 1 as a high school student and the high school paid for it and then you just decide all of a sudden you don't want out. So we really want to work where you're working with the counselor and other people and we make sure we're working through and having a better understanding as with the parent, the student, and us and Cameron. That's four people involved. But that's a four-legged stool, but we want to make sure everybody's involved in that conversation before we drop classes.
Exactly.
So,
all right. Thank you, Mr. Heim, because I know that was quite a bit of confusion by some of our families that are
and again, if you got questions about that and you're still a little bit and we got to on and on and on, and you're like, what did he say? I'm going to rewind it and listen again. You got email info@lawtonps.org. Again, that's a place where we can answer questions. info@lawtonps.org. Again, we can have somebody call you and have a one-on-one conversation, because the issue with this is there's no blanket. There's no absolute statement. It's going to be different for a lot of people. And we got to make sure that, so your case could be different than my case. So make sure you email or call and we'll get you to the right person to answer your particular question for you.
And give them the website.
And the website is just lawtonps.org.
All right, Mr. Heim, we have several more things that are coming up, but we'll save that for our next podcast. We have a great week ahead of us. I think
Yes.
the weather is going to be beautiful, so
Oh,
we're going to go out
yes.
there and enjoy that.
Enjoy the weather. We got football games this week, Thursday and Friday at home, I believe. So we're excited about that.
All right, anything else you want to
Nope.
share? Okay, you guys, thank you for tuning in this week. Until next week, be well, stay safe, and make positive impacts. Have a good week.